Portugal is about the size of Indiana, but for a few years its housing market behaved like Monaco. Money rushed in, locals got priced out, and now the exits are starting to jam. In the Lisbon metro area, overseas buyers have been paying about 60% more per square meter than residents, and that premium didn't stay in Lisbon. It hopped the river and ring roads, spiking prices in spillover towns and pulling homes into short-term rentals. Walk the prettiest squares at night and you'll see it. Cafés are loud, but the apartments above them are dark, renovation lights flickering behind shutters, for sale signs multiplying. You won't get a single 2008 crash headline. Listings sit longer. Buyers hesitate. Neighborhoods thin out, one empty balcony at a time. These 10 towns show the slide in different ways, and the last stop is where every pressure stacks at once. Number 10. Almada. Almada sits on the south bank of the Tagus, facing Lisbon across the water. At rush hour, you are shoulder to shoulder at the ferry gates, watching the capital glow on the far side like it is within reach. For years, Almada's pitch was simple. Commute into Lisbon, keep the lifestyle, pay less. That less has gotten thin, and the trade feels risky when bridge traffic or ferry delays can already steal hours. Almada's listing average is about $4,710 per square meter. A 70-square-meter apartment pencils out near $330,000. Typical rents run about $19.70 per square meter a month, so 60 square meters lands around $1,200 before utilities. For a town that marketed itself as the affordable side of the river, that is a hard reset. The street level tells you what the charts cannot. Renovation crews that never leave. Tourist key boxes showing up in buildings that used to be all families. New cafes opening, but older grocery shops closing. Almada is being priced into a new identity, and it is losing the one that made it work. Number 9. Odivelas. Odivelas is a northern suburb that sells proximity more than beauty. The listing copy always starts with the same flex metro nearby. For years, that one line pulled demand outward from Lisbon and pushed prices up. The twist is what happens when the buyer starts shopping like it is 2025 and the seller still thinks it is 2022. The unit is the same size. The price story is not. Odivelas sits near $3,760 per square meter on listing averages, or about $263,000 for 70 square meters. Rents run about $17 per square meter, so 60 square meters is roughly $1,100 a month. On paper, that looks like a discount. In real life, the monthly burden can feel identical because wages do not scale with close to Lisbon, and renters still compete with investors. You see the stall in new apartment blocks near roundabouts and ring roads. The buildings look finished, but units come back on the market after a first attempt to sell. Nothing looks ruined. It looks frozen. Odivelas is where you learn that proximity has a ceiling, and the ceiling shows up fast when buyers get picky again. Number 8. Faro. Faro should be the Algarve's most normal housing market because it is the airport, admin center, and year-round anchor, with schools, offices, and hospital services that carry the region through winter. It also has student demand through the University of the Algarve, which should support a normal rental market. The problem is that tourism money distorts normal. Faro's listing average is about $4,230 per square meter, roughly $296,000 for 70 square meters. Rents run about $18 per square meter, so 60 square meters sits near $1,100 a month. That is year-round rent in a region where many incomes still spike and dip with the seasons. When the rent does not dip, the household math breaks. Walk near the marina at dusk and you feel two cities at once. The restaurants are busy, but the upstairs windows stay dark for long stretches. Some homes are second homes. Some are short stays. Some are waiting for a higher-paying tenant. Faro does not need a crash to feel like freefall. It only needs essential workers competing with vacation demand every single month. Number 7. Lagos. Lagos sells the dream in one frame: cliffs, beaches, a walkable center, and sunsets that make people talk themselves into a purchase. Then you drive the edges and you see the hangover: modern blocks built for one buyer profile, the foreign second home buyer who wants turnkey and close to the water. Lagos is a market built for perfect conditions: steady tourism, easy short-term rentals, and buyers who assume nothing interrupts the flow. Start with the baseline. The Algarve's asking home price level, around $4,160 per square meter, makes a 70 square meter place push roughly $290,000 before furniture. Asking rents around $18 per square meter per month make a small 50 square meter rental about $900 a month. That's year-round math in a place where the economy still leans hard on peak season. Then supply shows up. When too many units target the same demand lane, one wobble turns into a wall of listings. Sellers resist cuts, buyers slow down, and brand new starts to feel like still available. Do you rent it long-term and take the hit, or keep chasing peak season and hope the rules don't change again? You pass a fresh condo block where the lobby still smells like paint and the mailboxes look untouched. A few units glow behind curtains. Many don't. Lagos doesn't need a crash to feel like freefall. It only needs a market built for perfect conditions, and then a year that isn't perfect. Number 6. Albufeira. Albufeira has a soundtrack in summer: suitcases over cobblestone, tour groups spilling out of vans, taxi lines that never end. Then winter arrives and whole streets shut down in a way that feels unnatural for a town that still has permanent residents. The housing market has to survive both versions of the place at once: peak season noise and off-season silence. And that tension is where the cracks form. Albufeira runs about $5,900 per square meter on listing averages, around $356,000 for 70 square meters. Rents run about $18 per square meter, so 50 square meters is about $900 a month. That is expensive for the workers who keep the hotels, restaurants, and cleaning crews moving, and it pushes staff farther out, even when they work right in the tourist core. Here is the mechanism that shakes investor confidence. Alojamento Local, usually called AL, is the license that lets a home operate as a legal short-term rental. In many hot zones, municipalities have started limiting new AL registrations and tightening enforcement. If your entire plan depends on running a booking calendar year after year, that kind of rule drift changes the math fast, and it turns cash flow into maybe. Stand near the old town after dark and you will see the split. 2 streets of noise and bookings, then a quiet lane with long-term rental signs priced like it is still August. Albufeira is where the boom and the off-season collide, and the housing market has to survive both. Number 5. Lule. Lule sits behind the Algarve postcard, tied to places like Vila Moura, where property is sold as a lifestyle product. Bigger homes, higher fees, gated streets, and prices anchored to global budgets rather than local wages. That looks unbreakable until policy shifts and buyers start hesitating. Luxury does not crash first, but it can freeze first. Lule runs about $6,220 per square meter on listing averages. A 100 square meter place is around $622,000. Typical rents are about $21 per square meter, so 80 square meters comes out near $1,700 a month. Add maintenance, condo fees, and the constant pressure to keep the property market ready, and the carrying costs get real fast, even for owners who can afford it. Portugal's Golden Visa is a residency by investment program that has changed over the last few years, including shifting away from residential property as the headline route. NHR, the non-habitual resident tax regime, has also been changing for new entrants. In a luxury market, that uncertainty does not kill demand, but it changes the tempo. Fewer impulse buys, more negotiations, more "let's wait and see." You feel the split on the ground. Behind the walls, spotless villas. Outside the gates, service workers hunting for rent that does not swallow the paycheck. Lule can look calm while the market quietly loses its sure-thing buyers. Number 4. Hueras. Oeiras has the new Portugal vibe: business parks, oceanfront walks, headquarters signs, and a steady stream of well-paid jobs. For a while, that made the housing market feel untouchable. Then prices climbed into a band where every shock matters more. By mid-2025, the median sale price in Oeiras was around $4,900 per square meter. In the Lisbon metro area, non-residents have been paying about $6,410 per square meter versus about $3,960 for residents. That premium pulls the whole top band higher, including places like Oeiras that already had strong local demand. On a 90-square-meter apartment, $4,900 per square meter is already about $441,000. And buyers start running into a simple wall. Even well-paid people have a limit. You see the ceiling in the way listings behave. New builds look finished, but they take longer to fill. Owners test the market with small price cuts that don't feel like cuts. Buyers push back harder because they've got options again. Number 3. Porto. Porto is the city people fall for in a weekend, then try to turn into a plan. Ribeira is crowded, the tiled stations look cinematic, and the old center feels compact. The housing pressure shows up as commutes, staffing gaps, and constant reshuffling, the kind that forces people to move even when they want to stay. The more the center becomes a product, the more the working city gets pushed outward. Porto runs about $4,960 per square meter on listing averages, about $347,000 for 70 square meters. Rents run about $20 per square meter. So 60 square meters lands around $1,200 a month. For people working service jobs in the center, that level forces choices fast. Longer commutes, smaller rooms, sharing housing longer than anyone wants to. It also changes who can take a job in the first place. Porto's investor story is tied to short stays. When returns soften or rules tighten, the easy math stops being easy, especially in the tourist core where so many units were optimized for visitors. Walk uphill from Ribeira and you will spot key boxes, renovations, and for sale plaques clustered in the same few streets. The city stays beautiful. The housing system underneath it gets thinner. Number 2. Cascais. Cascais used to be a resort escape for Lisbon. Now it behaves like a global neighborhood, with international schools, expat networks, and prices that invite comparisons far beyond Portugal. That status works until the marginal buyer starts pausing, because the market is built on a very specific kind of confidence, and confidence can change faster than the ocean view. Cascais runs about $7,730 per square meter on listing averages. A 120 square meter place is about $927,000. Rents run about $28 per square meter. So 80 square meters is around $2,300 a month. That narrows your buyer pool to people with global income or global capital. It also means small shifts in policy or financing can have an outsized impact on activity. This is where the policy story matters more. When rules around the Golden Visa and NHR shifted for new arrivals, some urgency drained out of the market. The same house can sit because the buyer expects leverage again, and the seller still expects scarcity. Stand by the waterfront on a winter evening and you see the contradiction. Luxury cars pass. Many balconies stay dark. Would you pay close to $1 million for a town that can feel half-occupied off-season? Number 1, Lisbon. Lisbon has the jobs, the universities, the postcards, and the strongest magnet effect in the country. It also has the most stretched numbers, and stretched numbers change how a city functions in daily life. When teachers and nurses cannot live near their workplace, the whole system starts wobbling. Lisbon runs about $7,450 per square meter on listing averages, roughly $447,000 for a 60 square meter apartment. Rents run about $27 per square meter, so 60 square meters sits around $1,600 a month. For a lot of residents, that rent takes over the budget, which is why room rentals and crowded flat shares become the default for a lot of people. Price is only part of it. Availability and churn do the rest. When more homes are held as short stays, long-term options shrink. When rules around AL shift, investors hesitate and tenants get caught in the middle. That uncertainty matters because it changes the supply. Some owners pull units from the long-term market to chase tourists. Others pull them back when rules tighten or when seasonality disappoints. Tenants end up competing in a smaller pool, and even normal neighborhoods start feeling temporary. The city keeps moving, but fewer people can settle. Walk through a central neighborhood at dusk. The street is alive, and upstairs you see scaffolding, fresh plaster, and lights in empty rooms. Owners wait for the perfect tenant, the perfect buyer, the perfect rule change. Meanwhile, the city still needs drivers, cooks, and caregivers to live somewhere nearby. Across these 10 towns, the pattern is simple. Foreign demand pushed prices up, short-term rentals pulled homes out of the long-term pool, and policy shifts changed the rules faster than local wages could catch up. Portugal can stay desirable and still be in trouble because freefall here looks quiet, with listings that sit, negotiations that drag, and neighborhoods that feel part-time. If you are looking at Portugal now, treat the numbers as part of the scenery. They tell you who gets to stay.